Welcome, George Pickering, Master of Ceremonies for English for Progress Third Policy Dialogue organized by the British Council here in Delhi. George, what does the English language mean to you as an individual and as a professional working in the field of English language training?
I think firstly, as someone who is essentially monolingual, it's tied up with my identity. But as an English language teaching professional, I very much see it as a passport for people to join the global world. Very much don't think of the language as belonging to me and people like me. I think it is a medium for exchange of ideas between different people throughout the world, and is entirely now disconnected from any particular country or region of the world.
George, what do you think should the status of a language like English be in contexts like India and Sri Lanka, which has its own rich cultural and linguistic heritage?
Well, firstly, I think that when it comes to the English language, there will be local, national varieties of English, as well as international English. So I could see it as part of the rich diversity of the Indian national identity. I don't think it necessarily has to displace other languages. And like many people at this conference, I would be in favour of multilingualism rather than monolingualism or bilingualism. So I think it adds to the diversity and doesn't necessarily need to detract from what's already there.
How does one make the jump from policy to practice in a conference like this? We are calling it a policy dialogue. What are the mechanisms through which one can actually put some of the things that we're talking about into practice?
Well, I think one starting point would be to have a policy. I've just heard a distinguished speaker say that in India there isn't a policy on English, so I think there has to be a policy. But then one has to appreciate that having decided on a policy, you also need a framework, you need a plan. The plan has to have a variety of elements to it. It must be properly resourced. It must involve changes to the curriculum, to course books, to testing, and perhaps crucially, teacher development. And not just teacher development at the beginning of the process, but throughout the process. So the thing has to be well planned, people have to be realistic about the aims and time frames, and if all those things are put in place, then change can be effected. I think one of the good things about this conference is that at the same time as people are aware of the scale of the challenges ahead, there's also been an opportunity for people to see some of the projects which have already been completed, which have transformed the way that English language teaching has been taught and learnt in certain parts of India. And I think that's a very positive sign. That's a very positive sign to show that when people like the British Council work with partners to effect change, then that change is possible, it's effective, and it has the end result of transforming the lives of significant numbers of people.
And one final question, George. What do you think worked particularly well in this conference, and what are the things that you are going to take away from this conference?
I'm going to take away from this conference the fact that if you're not careful, you focus so much on the challenges that you feel the task ahead of you is too difficult to attempt. What I'm taking away from this conference is the fact that whatever the circumstances, whatever the challenges, you can make a difference. And you can make a difference, particularly if you work with others. As someone said, if you walk alone, you go faster, but if you walk with others, you go further. And I think this conference is all about people going further by working together to create the changes that they want to see in the world.
Thank you, George. That was George Pickering speaking to us from Delhi.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.